Okay, hello and welcome to this video on systems 1 and 2 thinking. This is from a pretty groundbreaking piece of research by someone called Daniel Kahneman, and essentially he identified two different operating systems, if you like, for how the brain works. So just like you've got sort of the Samsung operating system and you've got the Apple OS operating system, us humans have two different types of operating systems as well. So if we create a little table here, and they're called Systems 1 and Systems 2 thinking. Now, Systems 1 thinking is survival based. Okay, so it's all about survival. So it's very fast. It's often automatic and it's highly emotional. So, Systems 1 thinking is survival focused, quick, automatic decisions or assumptions or conclusions, and it's based heavily on emotions. So, as a result of this, we can think about Systems 1 as being like a reflex. So, it's reflexive in nature. There is a specific stimulus, and that creates a very fast paced and almost immediate response. So, systems one thinking is where anger lives. So, when we have an irrational outburst or we have something that's uncontrolled or it's a snappy reaction, that is the classical sign of systems one thinking. Now, the benefits of System 1 thinking is that as it's survival based, you don't have to sit down and process things, particularly if there's a predator or a threat after you. You make quick decisions to help you survive. But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily helpful in social situations, family dynamics, work performances, all of those places where quick reactions are not necessarily going to be helping you. So then we come to Systems 2 thinking. Now, Systems 2 thinking is all about self governance. So, you being able to be in charge. As a result, it's slower in nature and it's also more effortful. So, it requires quite a bit more energy. So, we can see why the brain often prefers System 1 because it's survival based, fast, automatic, quick response, emotional, reflexive. Whereas this systems 2 thinking is all about self governance. So it's much slower in nature, it's more effortful, it's more thinking based. So it requires you to consider and analyze things. And as a result, it's more reflective in nature. So we've got systems 1, which is reflexive stimulus response. Systems 2, we have reflective, and it's able to make slower, considered thought processes, which then lead to different results. And the reason this is really important is because when we're in struggles with anger, we're in the habit and we're stuck in systems 1 thinking. So we want to start to make the shift over systems 2 thinking. Now, if we think about your brain for a moment, I'm just going to draw my fabulous brain over there. And within the brain, there are two almond shaped parts called the amygdala. Now, the amygdala is involved in sort of fear and pleasure and sort of novel information, emotions. And then we have the executive center, which is in the prefrontal cortex, so the smart brain. So we've got the amygdala, which is in the reptilian brain, so it's much more ancient. Then we have the executive center, which is the prefrontal cortex. So we have systems 1 thinking living in the amygdala, and then we have systems 2 thinking in the executive center. Now, what usually happens is the executive center can calm down and can keep the amygdala in check which limits us in being so reactive and responsive and unconscious. And it does this through two different pathways called GABA and glutamate, but that's less important. But what's important is that this executive center can keep all of that systems one thinking under control as long as we know how to develop our executive center. And this isn't something that's taught to us, this isn't something that we learn as we're growing up. So actually, we need to learn how to do it consciously, because then we can actually make the shift from living in systems one thinking to living more of our time in systems two thinking. And just give you one more example to hopefully bring it home. If you sort of go to the doctors, then you might have noticed at one point in time they'll have a reflex hammer. So they'll have that little hammer, and then they'll give you a bash on the knee tendon, and then your leg will reflexively move. So this is an automatic, quick response, and there's only sort of there's a very short amount of neural circuitry involved. So it goes straight to the spinal cord, then there's a reaction. So it's very, very quick. Whereas when we come to maybe thinking about where you want to go for dinner, for example, you then think about all the different options. You think about the finances involved. You think about travel. You think about the type of cuisine. You think about the people that you're going with. So you need to use your systems two thinking, which is more effortful, to actually go through all of these different elements. So whereas systems one is reflexive, stimulus response, systems two is reflexive and considered. So the purpose of anger management training is to give you the tools and the strategies to move from systems one to systems two, where your executive center can govern your amygdala and then you're in charge. And that's what we want.